Welcome everyone to the second show of the Women Who Lead series. I want to thank all of you who joined us last time for the inaugural episode. That was 2 weeks ago, and it was such a huge success. And today's guests are also going to be a big hit. I'm using the word Zoom again as a metaphor because we are on Zoom, and I want the world to zoom in to great women leaders. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode, which we call Women Who Lead Global Luxury, and includes some of the most captivating women in the global luxury markets. For those who don't know me, my name is Teresa Palacios Smith, and I'm Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer for Home Services of America and HSF affiliates. I also want to take a moment to make sure I thank Gino Blafari, Alan Dalton, Chris Stewart, who actually have been so supportive of the series and really gave me what I needed to make sure that this passion project got underway. So to remind you, my family's originally from Colombia, South America, and when we get together with good friends in our homes, we always ask them, would you like un cafecito? So today, please join me con un cafecito, a coffee or tea. I hope you brought it, with 3 movers and shakers, and I am in awe because not only are they humble, they have amazing talents, and the leadership they bring to the coveted upscale market is unbelievable. So let's get started. First, I want to introduce May Cheng, who's the Associate Publisher of Barron's Group. That's Wall Street Journal, Dow Jones, for those who may not be aware, where she serves as the publisher, editor at Mansion Global, which is the premier news site for luxury residential properties around the world, and Penta, which is a wealth management and luxury publication. And May has such finesse and such talents that I am so fascinated with the circles that she runs in and the people that she gets to meet. And I met May through Wendy Duran, who is our Vice President of Luxury Marketing at HSF affiliate. So I want to thank Wendy for that introduction. She's amazing. Next is Dunya Fadi, who is Chief Operating Officer at Berkshire Hathaway Golf Properties in Dubai. And Dunya and I met for the first time when she came to the Berkshire Hathaway Home Services convention this year, Live It, right, in Nashville. But I instantly became a fan. I'm intrigued with her. I know I've asked her tons of questions about the work that she does in the mysterious markets of the Middle East. And also today I have Stephanie Newlands, who is Senior Partner and Broker of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Toronto Realty, and whose company is exploding in growth. We also met Stephanie at the convention this year, and I was so impressed in that, number one, her company joined Berkshire Hathaway Home Services in March of 2020, and immediately after she went back to Toronto, they closed all the operations across the country because of COVID. Yet, amidst this crisis, she has been involved in new construction, luxury, recruiting, training, and they have done such an incredible job in growing their company. So I can't wait for you to hear how she's done that. And so let's get started, Stephanie, with you. Tell us a little bit more about your background, how you got started in real estate in such a young age in the industry, and you're running a brokerage and you're growing. So tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you, Teresa, for the warm introduction. It's a pleasure to be here with all these amazing women, and I love the goal of this conversation. My name, as Teresa mentioned, is Stephanie Newlands. I am one of the founding partners of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Toronto. We launched, as Teresa mentioned, back in March of 2020. Very interesting timing that I can kind of speak to further along in our chat. But my real estate career kind of goes back to basically the summer after I graduated university, with a lot of uncertainty of where my future would be. I love sales. I love people. That's really the driving force of where I am. So in my role at the company, I am the one of the founding partners, as well as the broker of record. And with that comes a lot of mentorship, a lot of training for our new agents, even our established agents, a lot on the legality side. But as Teresa mentioned as well, it's an extremely dynamic company, and we've had such a tremendous growth in the last few months that we're really excited about where this is going.
Oh, I'm so happy and I'm so excited about everything that you're doing and that we're in Toronto now. It's just such a big thing for us. And also, Dina, you guys didn't join that far back, right? You're not even a year in, and same scenario. So tell us, because again, Chief Operating Officer in Dubai, tell us how you got started.
Thank you, Teresa, for the chance to be part of this amazing women gathering. Again, the purpose of this is I would say, inspiring other women. And I hope we do a good job today in inspiring other women sitting, watching us across the screen. My journey started 15 years ago when I first came to Dubai, came for holiday. And I had a friend who was working in the stock market, living here in Dubai. And I was like, okay, I can do this as well. Maybe I could find a job and enroll here in university and just start living independently. And I tried that, and that's exactly how I did it. I applied for a job. I went to a few universities, got accepted in one of the universities, and then I submitted my job, the CV to 3 companies. I got response from 2, and it was overwhelming, but I got started anyway, because in 2005, it was the beginning of, I think around 2003 and 4, the freehold law opened up here in Dubai. So expats and foreigners could own properties here. And the market was booming, and that was a really attractive sector at that time. I never knew I would be a real estate professional, but that's where fate took me. Then I started as a property consultant first year and climbed up the ladder, and we'll share through this interview how it all happened. And now today I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Gulf Properties. It's such an honor to be working with such an iconic brand, and just the amazing network that we have. It just allows us and enable us to do amazing things globally and not just locally. And Dubai being a global city, it just was the right fit. So yeah.
I love that. And I know that we're so excited about being in your market, and we're going to get a little bit deeper into, what the mysteries are about being a leader as a woman. May, I'm fascinated with your background, and also the fact that I love Mansion Global, the on-site. Every time I go on, it's just amazing, the beautiful visuals, the information, all the people that you hang with. It's just unbelievable. So tell us about that. How did you get started? And I think that's got to be, for me, that's very impressive.
Thank you so much, Teresa. And as everyone said, thank you so much for the honor of being part of this conversation. Huge kudos to Berkshire Hathaway Home Services for having so many wonderful, successful women rise up the ladder. I know it's difficult in many industries. Real estate is not an exception. So I applaud Berkshire Hathaway Home Services for recognizing such talent. And also a special shout out also to Wendy Duran, who is among my most favorite people in the industry. She is so great and successful and smart, but yet so down to earth and engaging. So to your question about how I got started, I actually just got started in the newsroom side, in the editorial side, and I happen to be the youngest of 3 children. My parents were white-collar workers in Taiwan, and then they immigrated here to the United States for a better life for their kids, and they took on blue-collar jobs to be able to support us because their education, I guess, didn't translate here in the United States. And so they worked hard to put us through college. And so thankfully, I was the third of the three. So by the time they got to me, it's like, okay, whatever you want to do, I'm just glad you get into college. And when I was thinking about what I wanted to study in college, there is always the sort of the more office-like jobs, but I thought I don't see myself being in an office 9 to 5 and doing the same thing over and over. I'm so curious about the world and so curious about the stories people have to tell. And so I decided to major in journalism. And luckily for me, once I got my degree, I was able to work in a newsroom and work my way up to a newsroom. And about 4 years ago, I became publisher and editor of Managing Global, which built on my editorial skills, but really allowed me to take on a new role, also looking at the commercial side of the business. Usually in newsroom or usually in a media company, you're either on the editorial side or you're on the business side. And this allowed me to put on both hats, which is a great challenge for me, allowing me to learn new skills. So I am so thankful for my boss, Alma Latour, who's now the CEO of Dow Jones, for giving me that opportunity to try something new when I was unproven. I only proved myself on the editorial side, but he gave me that chance on the commercial side, and I've been loving it ever since. It's the best job I've ever had.
I can imagine it would be. I mean, I actually started my career in broadcasting too, but I didn't end that way. But my writing was just, it's never been good. And I admire anybody that can do that, because it is such a beautiful talent, and such, writing is something that we always can capture and memorialize. So thank you for what you do. And again, the work that you guys do with us in exposing a lot of the beautiful properties that many of the network agents across the world have is absolutely, we cherish that. So Dunya, I know, again, I wanted to reach out to you because, when you and I met, I said, okay, you're in the Middle East and Dubai and you're a woman leader. Okay, how does that work? Because, people, and I hope you're okay with me, people wonder, because you hear such things about, always having, that women are not considered in those roles, and that it's just very male dominant. And so again, I applaud you for what you've done and how you inspire. I mean, I'm telling you, you guys all inspire me, and I know that you are already inspiring others. So tell us, how does that work, and a little bit about that.
Sure. Like everyone, or like most of the people, have these stereotypes and taboos about the Middle East. And yes, it does exist in some parts of the Middle East. But Dubai has evolved, and UAE, but Dubai in particular has evolved, and its leadership is championing women. When I came in here, it's such a diversified population here in Dubai. It's a cosmopolitan city. So we've got 210 nationalities. They all work and live, and it's just amazing the way you see people here from everywhere, from all backgrounds, all religions, all cultures. So when I came in and I saw, and they're so inviting as well, and they want women to be in leadership roles, because if I tell you something right now, the government of Dubai has 50% of are women.
Oh, wow.
Ministers and leaders, yes. And they absolutely support women in education, in leadership roles, and advancing them, and that gave me that. And there's not only me, there are so many amazing women in this part of the world that have really become successful because of that opportunity that Dubai gives. So when I started, I was just a young girl. I never knew what I really wanted to do. I knew who I wanted to become, and I had sharp focus, if you want to say, to stick to what I'm doing and get better at it every time. But I was a little, I was younger. I didn't have enough experience, but people gave me a chance, and I proved to everyone that I could do the job, and I got better and better and better at it as I advanced in my career. So soon as I was hired as a property consultant, I became a sales manager, and then I became a managing director, and then a CEO, and then I owned my own company, and that company merged with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Gulf Properties here in Dubai. And it was purely because Dubai allowed that. It's such an open society. It's such an amazing city. They have it's a futuristic city, if you want to call it. It's got innovation. It's got the best infrastructure in the world. It's got its location to many other parts of the world, and the connectivity that the airline gives has brought people from all over the world. And they have done such an amazing job in showcasing what tolerance and what, you know, everyone from everywhere in the same city can achieve. And we did that in Dubai, and that credit definitely goes to the leadership of Dubai.
Well, that's wonderful. And I know, May, right? You've actually visited. I've not had a chance.
Yeah, I was just going to say I had the honor and privilege of going to Dubai for the very first time in February, right before all the lockdowns. And I went for an event we were doing for Mansion Global, and I was awestruck by the energy there. Dubai is really, truly, literally the crossroads of the world. Because it's so close to Asia. You see a lot of Asia transplants who've made their homes there, certainly from Europe, and then a good amount of number of Americans there. And they all seem to live so seamlessly well, you know, working with one another, interacting with one another. It's really a city where like anything that you imagine can actually happen. It could be sunny out, but then the next day, the next minute it'll start raining because they want it rain, right? We're talking about how
in Dubai,
it snows, it rains.
We have the beautiful beaches. We have 7-star hotels. The safety here is one thing that keeps every family to gravitate towards being and making this a home. It's me as a mother of two. I didn't have to worry if my kid gets fever at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning of driving to a hospital or clinic, because it really is a safe place for everyone, for women in particular and kids, but for everyone it is.
That's so wonderful to hear, and so enlightening, because we have a different picture, right? You know, you hear through the news. So thank you for sharing. I just think that it's a great way to really learn about other cultures, and you're teaching us so much. Stephanie, you millennial, you know, we talked about the fact that, you know, you are in a class right now that we see the buyers are in that market. And how does that feel? How do you work with others? Because I know a lot of women your age are now choosing careers first, versus my daughter's that way, you know, careers first, and then we'll wait and have children and married, and if we want to get married. So tell me about you and that, because I'm fascinated with that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Even just to kind of play on what Dunya is saying, Dubai is high on my list of visiting, and Toronto has certainly become kind of known, I'd say, in the last 5 to 10 years as a global city, and we do have a lot of immigration, as well as migration across the country for people that see it as a real career hub, especially for the places of work like lawyers and doctors, and now real estate, I would say, is really high up in that level of opportunity, because the market is so vibrant and so strong. So I've always felt very, fortunate that the market that I do work and assist in is a booming market for the most part, obviously, all things being equal. And, I do a lot of the recruitment. I do a lot of the mentorship. So just to kind of play into your question, for me, it's about making women that do come through the door, because a lot of the realtors in the Greater Toronto Area are female. There's about 50, I think the last head count was 52,000 real estate agents. Wow. And a lot of those women, a lot of those realtors are female. And a lot of that I feel is because there is space for a career in real estate, and some of the duties that are still very much on the female in terms of the household and motherhood and things like that. It allows a bit more of a balance, and just in terms of the scheduling. But it still takes a lot of work. And as I say, in cities like Toronto, in big global cities, it does seem to me that the career is taking the forefront, especially in those 25 to 30-year-old years, where typically you might finish school or finish whatever and settle down. It seems to be transitioning into, career first, establish that, and then move on into a second phase of life, which might be family, might be kids, might be something different while you've, established yourself in the career world. I know that that's kind of what happened for me. It happened organically. It wasn't really thought out or necessarily planned that way. But I definitely want to, make an open space for women to feel like that is definitely encouraged and there's empowerment there in those types of decisions of how you think you might have to live your life.
And that is just the beauty of the diversity and inclusion that is part of Toronto. And being a woman leader, I think that you have, I just think it's an innate quality that we all have when we understand where we're coming from, whether it's having a family or not, or waiting, it doesn't matter. It's the choice that we now have. And I'm so grateful that we do have that choice. May, I know that diversity and inclusion is huge for you, and it is for us immigrants, right? We immigrated to this country. I was born here. My parents are like yours. My dad was a blue collar worker as well. He wore the blue for Delta Airlines and sacrificed 3 jobs in order to put me or allow me to be where I am today, which I'm so I'm in awe of that I'm in this position today. But diversity, Penta, I know that you guys are doing a great work in that space. Tell us a little bit about that, because I know that's a passion for you too.
Yes. So as you mentioned in my intro, the other publication that I'm publisher and editor of is Penta. It's a quarterly magazine distributed through Barron's, but we also have an online website inspired by Penta.com, and we have events. And so like Mansion Global, it's a luxury lifestyle magazine, but it also has another element to all the stories that we do. We feature people who talk about their passion projects. And the reason why that's important is because they all have some kind of social impact. So for all our stories, we look through it from some social impact lens. Whether your passion is combating global warming, or whether it's saving animals, certain species of animals from going extinct. We profile the stories of people and their passion projects. And we all, I know in your intro, you said this was a passion project of yours. We all need these passion projects to keep us going, no matter how successful we are. And in Penta, we profile these very successful individuals across all sectors of all different industries, and they talk about what's meaningful for them and why they want to give back. And it's, it's a very important voice for us to have. And with these stories too, we really look for that diversity of voices. So for our most recent cover, which is our annual Changemakers cover, we profiled Gordon Parks, who is this photographer who is deceased, but he was self-taught. He became the first Black photographer at Time magazine, and he later went on to make movies. But he took these very poignant photos of the Black community here in the United States. And those photos sparked conversation about this disparity that existed then. And this came out at a time when the magazine came out at a time when we were starting to have a more contemporary discussion about racial disparity here in the United States. And so even though we didn't know this was going to happen when we closed the magazine 6 weeks beforehand, it was still relevant today that we have these discussions. And Gordon Parks' photos are now works of art, and they are shared in museums across the country and around the world so that we can have these very meaningful dialogues. And so I love Mansion Global. I love the work that we do in Mansion Global, but it's also great to be able to be part of that other publication where we can talk about people's passions. And I also, to that point, want to thank Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, because they are actually a supporter of Penta and helped us to be able to make these, publish these magazines.
Well, that's, to me, is so touching, and I will look up the photos now. I've just wrote my notes so that I can actually check out the museums and where the work is displayed, and that's so very special. I know with us, you mentioned being a global luxury magazine and all that touches, and all of you are in that luxury space. With COVID, how has that affected? And, with the state of social unrest, have you been able to work those markets? Have you seen any effects whatsoever, how are you feeling and how are you able to lead during these turbulent times? And I'm throwing that out to whoever wants to answer that.
I can go first on that, Teresa. I would say, you know, just to kind of take it back from our launch of March 1st, March 15th actually was when things happened. Our city shut down March 13th. So the world was in, you know, a very different spot then. That Toronto specifically has come a long way since March in terms of getting some comfort in returning back into the world of real estate, as well as a little bit of the new normal, working from home. But with that came a whole new series of juggling acts of, you know, parents who have young kids at home who are working and trying to, you know, jump on a Zoom call and not have some noise in the background and things like that, or you know, all the different things of being living or working in a hospital and not wanting to put your families at risk. So there's definitely, you know, it's been you know, a point in our time, in our careers and everything that I think we'll have learned so much from, that I've been trying to integrate that into our communications with our realtors, as well as just the people we work with and our clients, with comfort being the number one priority, always making sure that no matter what the circumstances, they're comfortable with this new way of either doing business or corresponding and making sure people's needs are met.
Dunya, or?
Yeah, I was going to say, Stephanie, I think that's a really great point. And I think what coronavirus has done is to really elevate women leaders and allowed us to shine. I don't want to be, I don't want to stereotype the sexes, but in my experience with working with male and female leaders seem to be able to have a more nuanced look at management and be able to be in tune a little bit better sometimes with the emotions of the staff. And this was a very trying time for everybody, right? You're trying to do your work, but we're also all living through the coronavirus. And I think it really takes leaders and managers who can understand that everybody is going through that, and to help them juggle that balance of the two, and even just to have conversations. I know in our office, we started having internal conversations. We do write stories about, you know, how do you balance work and life, but we were having internal conversations with leaders we brought from outside to help our employees figure that out for ourselves as well. And so I think it really, as I talk to leaders and executives from all various industries, I really hear about the women executives who really, you know, rose up and really connected with their employees, as well as making sure that, you know, the company's still on track to do what it needed to do.
And I think, Dunya, you have 8 and 10-year-olds at home, and you're working from home. And so how that, and you know, with what you just both said, right, there's an authentic empathy that we all have. And I think what it's done, being on Zoom, working from home, is it actually has given us an authentic, real life, true, this is what happens to us every day. And we all can feel it. We all know, you know, and I've been in calls where I'm so sorry, my dog's barking. I'm like, we've got that too. We understand. It's just like, it happens. And so it makes us more real. And I think that was what I love about this, you know, being so real and so authentic, and understanding that is what happens. You know, in real life, we have situations that happen. And I know with Dunya, what are your thoughts?
I mean, if you remember, at that time we were in Nashville at the convention, and we were all, you know, busy, and we were 6,000 of us, and I was overwhelmed because we were meeting everyone and attending the classes and doing the conferences. And the other world and the news you hear is that COVID-19, and cities are shutting down and countries are shutting down. And here I am across, you know, the other side of the world, attending convention. I have my two kids in differently, in entirely different side of the world, and I need to finish what I have in hand, but then I really need to get back to my kids before things get
crazy
worse. And thankfully, successfully, we did, after a very successful trip in the US at Nashville, and also for the event we held at Atlanta. But honestly, it was, and I'm sure everyone heard this word, it's unprecedented. No one knew what was going on. There was a huge amount of uncertainty, and we were just, it's like a reality check. This is it, and we have to deal with it without knowing anything about it. So immediately the schools have shut down, even in Dubai, as a precaution. We, of course, number one thing for me was the safety of myself, my family, my employees, adapting to the new ways of doing business, the safety of our clients, because of course you view a property and there are people who live in that property, or they could be elderly, they could have, chronic diseases. So everything had all of a sudden to be taken into consideration. Other than that was the mental health and the well-being of everyone, of yourself, of the people you have to motivate. Like, we had meetings through Zoom, but they were all around checking on our people. How are they doing? How are they feeling? How are they finding this time? Do they need help? And it was, not everyone was ready to talk about it openly, And the one amazing thing that happened is, during this pandemic, is that humanity came together. And we've seen this through different sectors, especially in real estate here in Dubai. Many agencies and many brokerages came together to help each other, to attend to each other's need, to check on each other. And that never was there before. It was all about competition, and I'm gonna outdo you this month. And in terms of sales and marketing and stuff, even with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, the network, we have never met as many times as we did since the COVID started. So we had all these, workshops and coaching sessions and marketing sessions and learning from each other and supporting each other. So this has been somehow amazing. Yes, it is devastating, and people are losing jobs and things are changing, things are shifting around us, and we're learning on a daily basis. Right now, yes, it's summer, but we don't know what to expect. What's next? No one knows. So yes, it did affect families. It did affect me as a woman, because I'm a mother. I need to wake up in the morning, attend to my work, but also attend to my kids. Especially the homeschooling was something new for the kids, for the mothers. But we did it. We went through it. The kids were so resilient. It was absolutely amazing to see kids adapting to this new way of. Yeah, and they're also enjoying the Zooms, and they are having all their education online, and they were very open-minded about it. So why shouldn't we be as adults, So yeah, eventually we had to balance. Just like Stephanie said, you would be on a Zoom call, and then your son or your daughter would come running to you. They need something, but it's just, we're tolerating more because we're understanding of each other's situation. And as a mother, wasn't easy, but it's doable. We've gone through it, and now even that there is no online school anymore, it's still challenging because kids don't have the freedom they used to enjoy, and we have to keep them active, mentally, and keep them. Most of the time they're like, I'm bored, but what do you do with that? So you really have to come up with activities and things to keep them occupied, but
while running a company, right? While running a company, which a lot of times, I always say, and now I think it's really brought to the families together, where because everyone is at home working from home, that a lot of our significant others, right, are seeing, and they're joining, and they're realizing, wow, this is really a full-time job, and we got to manage it and make sure that that our family life stays positive, and and the work that's done. Everyone's starting to understand that. I think we're running out of time, and I know that I could talk to you guys forever. There's so much we could, but I do want to find out a couple things just before we close out. I know that we all face obstacles. I have, and some people get discouraged, women especially. They may be in a situation. What are some of the things that have challenges or obstacles that you have faced, and how did you overcome them? And again, May, let me start with you, and then that'll be our last question, and then we'll try to wrap up.
Yeah, throughout my career, there's always been leaders who I thought were good leaders, and I've always wanted to try to emulate them. But what I've come to realize is that you have to march to your own beat. You have to be authentic to yourself, barring your words, being authentic. And to really succeed as a leader and manager, I think you have to really be true to yourself and figure out what works for you. Adapting to the leadership style or the management style of somebody else it may or may not work because it's not authentic to you. So I think, truly understanding yourself and having confidence in yourself and having confidence in your judgment and being able to lead as a result of that will take you much farther. And so if anything, I think the stumbles that I've made along the way has been because I was trying to be somebody else that I authentically wasn't. So my advice would be trust in yourself.
I think that's so beautiful and so true. And, so many of us have been led to trying to be somebody you're not, and you need to do this, or you need to be stricter. And it's so much better when you can just be yourself, Yeah. And hopefully it'll be accepted the way you are, right? That you can get to where you want to be because of that authenticity. Stephanie, how about you?
Yeah, May, that was so well put. I think I would echo so much of what May has said. For me, I think the biggest thing that I've learned and through the trials and errors is the amount of growth that comes with failure. Not necessarily a complete utter failure, but don't be afraid to fall and pick yourself back up, because as May said, we're all kind of navigating. You are your own person, and your confidence will come as you learn and you grow, and so much growth comes from the mistakes that you make along the way. And I also just believe truly in as long as you believe in yourself and you're not trying to be something you're not. But I think one thing that everybody seems to have identified is having those people that you can look up to. Not necessarily being them and trying to replicate them, but just kind of seeing who they are and how you kind of want to get there, and then believing that you can, and aligning yourself with a company and with people who are respectful and lift you up, and see your value without you having to prove it. I think that would be my takeaway.
Nice. Dunya, any final words?
Amazing women. What can I add to that? But I would echo the same. It's about confidence. I think the especially in my career, real estate, it's very male dominant. And my thing was, I was young, and usually when I walk into a room or a conference or I'm talking at a panel, it's all men around me. And I had to either make a choice to back down and be scared, or actually have confidence and prove a point that we women can actually participate at the table and add value. And I chose the later because I wanted to see it for myself. I wanted to see where it was going to take me next, because otherwise I'll be sitting back and wondering what's next, or what if. So for me, it was confidence that was very important to advance in your career as a woman. And yes, you will come on your way. You're going to have things that will knock you down and show you that, this cannot be achieved. And yes, the path may change, but the goal is the same. It's just that you have to rearrange your thoughts, rearrange your goals, and just stay persistent and go after that ultimate goal that you see in your mind. And the other thing is your values. You have to stick to your values. Stay who you are, because really that is a unique thing. Because unfortunately, a lot of people tend to be not who they are. And if you are who you are, then you stand out and you make a difference. And that's very important for women. And for other women who are sitting and thinking, but she's got 15 years in her career, and she's got 30 and 20 and 8. You just have to start. If you don't start, you will never have that time for yourself to prove what you can do. So take the initiative, be confident, and be sure that you can add value to whatever you do in society, and not necessarily, and I'm not just talking about women in careers, but even women with their families, waking up every morning, participating, being part of society, teaching your kids, taking them out, showing them real values. That's participating in society.
And Dunya, that is absolutely beautiful and so true, because I was a mom for such a time off and took time with my children, and I valued that. It was the most wonderful thing that I could have done, and it was very special. And there are a lot of women that are meant to feel guilty now if they're not working. I want everyone to know that is the most beautiful, wonderful job that you can do if you choose to stay home and that's what you want to do. That is also a great thing, because you're teaching our children those values. So I hate that we're running out of time. I've learned so much from each of you. I want to end with a quote that I love from Jane Goodall. I just love Jane Goodall. I used to watch all her shows. You cannot get through a single day without having an impact on the world around you. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make. Each of you inspire me and make a huge impact in the lives of so many women. Thank you for having un cafecito with me. Please make sure, everybody, that you like our page, join our YouTube channel, join me on August 5th, with 2 weeks from now. Also from today, when Women Crush Wednesdays, right here, we're going to also have the Mega Real Estate Titans featuring Candace Adams, President and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, New England, Westchester, and New York Properties, Joan Doctor, President of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Fox and Roach Realtors, and Mary Lee Blaylock, who is the President and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, California. They are impressive as well. And I want to thank each of you again. Have a fantastic day, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.